we come together to talk about a very important topic, taking care of our land. Our theme is Our Land, Our Future. This year, we also celebrate the 30th anniversary of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. It's a great time to renew our pledge to use science and innovation to protect our land and support our ecosystem. We will have a special discussion called From Degradation to Restoration: the power and the impact of land governance in communities across the globe. Here, we will learn how smart land management can help with the climate change and to protect biodiversity. I encourage all of you to think about the goals we want to achieve today. By the end of our session, we hope to understand how good land governance can not only fix environmental problems, but also highlight successful projects led by communities. Before we begin our discussion, it is an honor to introduce our moderator for the panel, Dr. Mamadou بالعربية الدكتور محمد Baro, Professor and Director of the Bureau of Anthropology in Applied Research at the University of Arizona. His experience will guide us toward an impactful outcomes as we navigate today's dialogues. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to our discussion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
May God's peace and blessings be upon you all.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you all.
May God's peace and blessings be upon you all.
The University of Arizona team is very excited to be here. We've been really welcomed in Saudi Arabia. We had a wonderful time yesterday, and since we arrived, everything is just wonderful. And I want to take that time to thank UNCCD and the Saudi government and everybody who was involved in making this COP a successful one. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, it is both an honor and a profound responsibility to address this panel at the 16th conference of the parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Today, we convene at a pivotal moment, not only for policy, but for humanity's collective relationship with the land. The theme of our discussion, From Degradation to Restoration, offers a transformative vision of what is possible when governance, especially good governance, is aligned with equity, sustainability, and resilience. As we gather here, let us not forget the gravity of our shared reality. Nearly 1/4 of the Earth's land surface is degraded, and billions of lives, particularly in vulnerable communities in Africa and elsewhere, are directly impacted. Land degradation disrupts ecosystems, exacerbates poverty, fuels inequalities. It diminishes the capacity of the land to provide not just resources, but also cultural, spiritual, and social anchors for millions of people around the world. One topic that I would like to say briefly about here before I get to the speakers who are really thinkers outside of the box, and you will find out. I want to leave the time for them to share their interesting ideas with you. But I want to talk, about just focus on governance as the invisible foundation of land health, the health of land. So in addressing this crisis, because the word is really crisis, governance emerged as a critical level, often unseen by profoundly impactful. Land governance involves the formal and informal system through which rights, responsibilities, and decision-making processes regarding land use are mediated. It is a thread that connects the local to the global, the individual to the collective, and the past to the future. Effective land governance has the potential to empower marginalized communities, protect biodiversity, and safeguard climate stability. Conversely, weak or inequitable governance systems often amplify degradation, displacement, and conflict, which we see all over the world today. The stakes could not be higher. Now, I want to say a few things about global challenges and local realities. The dynamics of land governance varies across contexts, but share common challenges. In many regions around the world, land tenure insecurity deprives communities, especially women, which is a major group we need to be thinking about, and also indigenous people, and in addition to that, young people. And we're glad in this panel to have the young and also women being represented here. And as I said, I want to get into what they're going to be talking about, so we will find that very soon. But those groups are really key agents of change. Across the global south, external pressures such as land grabbing, unregulated resource extraction, and climate-induced shocks compound the vulnerability of already fragile, extremely fragile systems. Yet, there are also inspiring stories of resilience. In the Sahel, community-driven agroforestry practices are restoring vast swathes of degraded landscape. In South Asia, particularly water management systems are reviving and arid farmland. Across Latin America, indigenous governance models are integrating traditional ecological knowledge with modern conservation systems, providing promising outcome for both people and the planet. The next section I want to emphasize, which also you will hear from the panelists today, is the role of policy and multilateral collaboration. Collaboration is really partnership, is a key element, and I'm so happy that UNCCD and its partners are really leading that major initiative. The UNCCD and other multinational frameworks play a crucial role fostering dialogue, setting targets, and mobilizing resources. However, policies must be more than declarations. They must translate into action that is localized, inclusive, and equitable. This means investing in capacity building for communities, ensuring the representation of marginalized groups in decision-making processes, and strengthening legal frameworks to protect against land grabbing and unsustainable land exploitation. Now, what we hope to see here today from this team, from the University of Arizona and also our partners, is a call for action. Action is needed. We need to go beyond talks. As we look towards solutions, let us remember that restoration is not merely a technical challenge. It is a moral imperative. The restoration of degraded land is not just about recovering lost resources, it is also about reclaiming dignity, opportunity, and hope for millions of people around the world. It is about safeguarding the biodiversity and ecosystem services upon which all lives and livelihoods depend. We, as policymakers, researchers, advocates, and community leaders, bear the responsibility of shaping a future where land governance is a cornerstone of global sustainability. Let us not merely discuss the possibilities of restoration, let us actively work to enact them. In closing, I invite each of you to reflect on the interconnectedness of the challenges we face today. Land degradation knows no borders, and neither should our effort to combat it. Let us move forward from this conference, not only with strategies, but with a renewed resolve, turning the vision of restoration, which is a wonderful vision, into a tangible reality for communities around the globe. I would like now to introduce our speakers who are outside box thinkers, and the order of their presentation. We're so happy to have Dr. Faisal El-Rashid, who is an active member of the University of Arizona, who welcomed us last night with a wonderful dinner at his house, and with, just wonderful. And he's an adjunct professor at the Department of Agriculture and Biosystem Engineering in the College of Agriculture and Life Science, CALS, from the University of Arizona, USA. He will talk about the role of social agriculture as an economic methodology for avoiding land degradation and achieving restoration. He also wrote many books. I have one of them here that I would strongly advise you to read. I spent a lot of time last night reading it until almost 2 a.m. in the morning. And then the next speaker is going to be Mr. Sayasat Nurbek, Minister of Science and Higher Education, Government of Kazakhstan, and he will talk about the Kazakh experience with land degradation and national plans for resilience in the face of climate change. And I was very happy, a few weeks ago when I was in Baku to also join his team. It's fascinating the work they're doing in Kazakhstan. Our next speaker is a rising star, Dr. Faji Maina, who's an associate research scientist at NASA, Goddard Space Flight Center, and she will discuss about greening in the Sahel, pioneering efforts to reclaim and restore the land. And then we have our own Dr. Rod Wing, Director and Professor, Center for the Desert Agriculture, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, KAUST. He will talk about the use of Saudi native plants genetics to address land degradation of the Arabian Peninsula. And then we have also a fascinating young person who does interesting stuff in the Sahel, and that's Mr. Sani Laulai Adoa Shafi. He's the CEO of an organization called IPREN, Institute for the Production and Research in New Energies from Niger. He will talk about smart irrigation, innovation, land protection, and restoration with a click of your smartphone. So innovation and technology is going to be also, and he's also representing the youth also in West Africa, in the Sahel. So he's also an interesting person that we pulled in our team from Arizona also to share his own experience with us. Thank you very much, and we're very excited today to talk about these important themes today. Thank you very much. So we're going to start now with Dr. Turki Faisal Rashid.
Can you give me, please, hello? Just give me a quick guide through what to do with here.
So click here for the presentation.
What?
For your presentation. Yes, you can go to the next slide on
The green one is
the
there?
green one and back.
So green one is forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we're okay now. If I got screwed up, so you have to excuse me. And I will blame it always in my age. So when you get old, you do a lot of screwed up. So, marhaba mara thaniya. Hello, everybody again. My presentation, it's Our Land, Our Future, social agriculture. I don't know how many of you know about social agriculture, but we'll give you a very brief about social agriculture and how important it is for the national security of the country. A sustainable economy, strategies for combating land degradation. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, we'll explore social agriculture as a sustainable strategy against land degradation, promoting economic restoration, and empowering rural community for the prosperous future. Sorry, I didn't change the other one. Okay. This session focuses on the importance of working together to combat the land degradation in a dry area. Social agriculture is an approach that helps community become stronger, improve food security, enhance national security of the country, and support sustainable practices. This strategy enables local people to restore their land and adapt to the impact of climate change. I'll give you a very brief history. Saudi Arabia, when they started the official relationship with the US, it started in a meeting between King Abdulaziz, the founder of Saudi Arabia, and President Roosevelt right after the end of the war, somewhere in 1945. And they have agreed to develop agriculture project in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government have paid all expenses, focusing in water management and food security to support rural development. The plan was to create Al-Kharj project, which became a model for a quick agriculture development. I made a survey and the role of government, the support of the role of government. And as you could see, 35% and 33% and 27%. So pretty much majority of the survey that they do agree on the supporting of the government. Food security and national security. Many people ask, what does national security have to do with food security? Food security, it's all politics. Food security is the development of national security. Food security is deeply intertwined with the national security, as chronic hunger poses a significant threat to individual, government, societies, and even the integrity of the national border. To achieve food security, what do you need? You need capable and effective governance that recognize the political dimension. Food security is like playing chess. So it's not like just growing something. No, it has to do with playing chess, playing politics with all aspects. I made here another survey. The food security is a key political dimension. That's my hypothesis. That's my question. That's what I'm wondering. And 32% and 53% fully agree and agree. So we're talking about over 80%. Social agriculture cultivates resilience. My journey started in 1995. I was invited to the State of the World Forum in San Francisco. It was part of Gorbachev Foundation, where I met with Dr. Muhammad Yunus. I think he's currently is the president of Bangladesh. On his vision is community empowerment inspired me to explore Saudi agriculture further. How could Saudi agriculture, how could helping agriculture improve the national security of the country? The Saudi government, as I said, in 1940, they made a partnership with government and university, which is the University of Arizona, and that's why I went in 1975 to the University of Arizona, together with Aramco and with the local Saudi stakeholders, and they created Al-Kharj as a model for agriculture development. What is social agriculture? Social agriculture is a combined social value with farming practice. It focuses on teamwork. This approach is more than just growing food. It fosters social connection, help build strong community by encouraging collaboration, sharing knowledge, using sustainable methods. Social agriculture improves food security, support environment, and strengthen countries' national security. You will see the word national security. I repeated it quite often because I think it's very important for the food. What is the importance of social agriculture in achieving sustainable agriculture development? As you could see, nearly 80% strongly agree and agree. Now I'll ask the audience a hypothetical question. If you analyze a sample of wheat, and what do you think you're going to find in it? Here is my argument. 12% it's a protein, 88% is politics. Now, ask yourself this question now, whether are you with disagree, agree, strongly agree? I leave that up to you. Why social agriculture important? Social agriculture important because it gives the village farmer, it gives especially women, the needed, they give them access to networking, help them earn living. Its approach especially help emerge from the disadvantaged background, supporting many areas of the country. In dealing with land degradation and dry land, social agriculture offers a way to restore those land while it's also improve people's lives. One of the major problems with this cutthroat capitalism is the inequality. Less than a handful of people, they own more than 50% of the world wealth. We need to look at them. As the French philosopher said, if we don't fight poverty, if we don't fight corruption and poverty and the poor, they will fight you back. I put another question here. Why people migrate? Why people leave their rural area and they move to the city, and now we have a huge, mega-sized city? Each one of you have his own opinion. Here is the answers from the survey. Improve their health, improve their income, better medical, better education. When is social agriculture important? It's important all the time, but it's the most important during crisis, such as drought, natural disaster, diseases, outbreak, outcome, economic downturn. In those difficult times, building community unit and teamwork help with recovery and resilience. As we work toward sustainable development, it's essential to include social agriculture in our strategies. I put another survey here, resilience in crisis. And as you could see, nearly 90% agree and strongly agree. Where is Saudi social agriculture to be used? It can be used worldwide, but it is especially important in arid and semi-arid region where land degradation present a serious challenges. In those areas we can use local knowledge, tradition, practice, innovative technology to restore damaged land, improve soil health, and increase agriculture productivity. Effective development program, supporting social agriculture, especially in the Arab world, villages throughout collaboration among government, private sector, international organization, academia, for achieving sustainability. I'll give you an example here. I promote for country to rebuild country, like, I'll give you an example in Lebanon. In Lebanon, there is 1,200 villages. What I proposed here is the social agriculture program by helping each village with $30,000. We can directly benefit at least 200 people in those villages. This teamwork among different sectors is the most effective way to reach sustainability. This model can be replicated in other countries, especially as part of the rebuilding effort. Giving money to politicians, it really doesn't work. We need to work directly with the needed people. How to use social agriculture? The successful implement social agriculture, or to successfully implement social agriculture, a multi-dimension approach is needed. This strategy with the triple helix models of innovation, which involve collaboration between government bodies, companies, private sector, government, and international organization, all to achieve that. In Lebanon, I propose the American University of Beirut to be part of it. Engaging local community and stakeholders in the decision-making process is crucial. Education, capacity building program, empowering individual and group to adapt sustainable practice. Additionally, forming a partnership between government, NGO, and the private sector can provide resources and expertise necessary for the success. Empowering community through social agriculture provides a significant benefit to many groups. I'll give you an example here. As a result of community become more resilient and united, leading to a better overall well-being with our ecosystem. Saudi Arabia have choosing the south part of Saudi Arabia, and Jizan area. They made an agreement with the international organization, IFAD, together with the local university, and they allocated $4 million project. What's that $4 million project will do? Well, it will get 60 models of mango farms and 10 coffee farms. Those initiatives aim to help about 30,000 farmers by introducing advanced agriculture technology using recycled water and encouraging innovative product. The project was launched in 2018, and it's part of a larger strategy to reduce hunger, improve agriculture practice across the Arab world. Saudi Arabia commitment to integrating social agriculture into Saudi Arabia contribution to the global development is essential. By working together with international organizations, Saudi Arabia reinforced the key element of successful, sustainable development. We'll give you another example. Saudi Arabia gave $10 million to Lebanon, and they will work with the King Salman Center for Relief and Higher Relief Commission in Lebanon. The $10 million will spread out through many areas in Lebanon to improve it. Maybe you think $10 million is a very small amount. It's not. It's a lot more effective than the billions of dollars we paid to the wrong hand. I got another survey here, Collaborative Framework for Sustainable Agriculture Development, and the role of the government, private sector, academia, international. As you could see, 70% strongly agree, and nearly 25% agree. Overcoming the challenges in social agriculture. Economic instability often limit investment in agriculture projects, leaving smallholders farmers without access to funding. Water scarcity. Water scarcity everywhere. I don't know any single country now in the world does not suffer from water scarcity. And finally, many small farmers struggle to access the market. You know, it's easy for a politician to build bridges and big highways in the city, but it's very difficult for him to build a small dirt road in the rural area, because those people, they don't have the power and they don't have the clappings and the media coverage for it. So I encourage all politicians to take care of just a small part of their times to rural area. Collaborative action against climate change. You could see what are the role of government, what people think of the role of government, private sector, civil society, local communities, and international organization. Revitalizing agriculture. The RATL project, which is led by MEWA, Ministry of Agriculture, with IFAD, as I said earlier, and the universities, aim to transfer agriculture project in south of Saudi Arabia. As I said, the $4 million to support 30,000 farmers, and now we produce one of the top best coffees called Khawlani. I urge each one of you to taste it. It's a very good coffee. Worsening organic agriculture. As you could see, 22% strongly agree, and 37% they do agree. Advancing social agriculture for sustainable impact. To improve social agriculture, we need to expand existing programs by incorporating innovative practice among stakeholders, farmers, NGOs, governments. Additionally, we must address social economic issues by improving access resources, education, and technology, using regenerative farming technique that restore ecosystem. By aligning our effort and resources, we can develop resilient agriculture system that benefit people, planet, and our national security. Sustainable solution for agriculture, waste management. So you could see the survey of what people think of this question. Harnessing land governance through social agriculture. Social agriculture offers a strong solution. the social aspect of it, of the agriculture, goes beyond just market production. It is vital for supporting social reintegrating and encouraging collaboration by promoting social agriculture that can help urban farmer, rural farmer to thrive, improve their business, improve their life, improve their quality of life. Ultimately, embracing social agriculture not only help combat land degradation, but also empower the community. Together, we can create a resilient agriculture landscape that foster environment, health, and social quality. In closing, let us leverage the power of social agriculture to combat land degradation and desertification while addressing fundamental human need. By working together, we can create a sustainable future where our land thrives and our community prospers. For more information about myself, you could visit my website, tfrashid.org. You can read my book. It's published in 2013, The Role of Agriculture to Enhance Security, Alleviate Poverty, and Promote Economic Growth. And my other book, which is almost the same book, it's in Arabic. They're both available in all the major outlets. Thank you for listening, and happy to receive your question. And my apologies if I took much longer than needed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Turki Faisal. This is really an inspiring talk. Lots of great ideas, and I would strongly encourage you to read his book. And I started doing that actually yesterday. I'm on page 95. So it's really interesting ideas here, especially when it comes to social agriculture and land governance and the need for collaboration and cooperation. And we're so happy that UNCCD is actually leading that effort. And I also want to thank Ibrahim Chow, who happens to be here right now. So we're very happy and lucky to have him, and also would like to thank him and his leadership and all the organization. And actually, I would like to just give him the opportunity. I know he's very busy, and to say something about what he heard before we move on to the next presentation from our other colleagues. Please welcome to the floor.
Thank you, Mamadou. Good morning to everybody, and I actually came here to listen, not to speak, and I was very happy to listen to Dr. Turki and his excellent presentation, and also saw on live your presentation, Mamadou. I'm really here to say thank you. To say thank you to the University of Arizona, of course, to the United Nations University and many other partners who have joined us in organizing this Science Day, a very important day for all of us. We need science. Actually, we need more science. And we need, exactly as Dr. Turki was just saying, we need a more integrated science. We need biological science for sure. We need social science as well. And we need scientists from climate, water, land, governance, all combined to actually come to advise our parties. We are dealing with a very complex issue, land in general. You can call it land restoration, land governance, land tenure. We are not dealing with a very simple issue. It is not only biophysical, it is not only that we need soil scientists, we need everybody together. And our parties will be very grateful if scientists from different disciplines would come together to actually advise. They need to make informed decisions on issues like land tenure and land governance. You cannot manage land without bringing all the sciences together. So certainly having a very good foresight system to see how much demographics are impacting on land, how much the socio-economic progress that we are seeing in the world today is impacting on land, how much the growing middle class is impacting on land, and how much our production systems and our consumption systems are all interfering in the way we interact with land. So I'm really here to just say thank you and to encourage all of you and to say that the UNCCD will be very happy to continue to work with you as scientists, socioeconomics, biologists, all scientists together, because we need to put our hands together to actually provide our leaders and the private sector about informed information that will help them make informed decisions. So thank you again for your participation. Thank you for your contributions. I'm afraid I have to run to another event. I wish I could stay longer to benefit from all the panelists, but out of respect for many other colleagues who are organizing events and journalists and negotiations are going on in parallel, but everything is going on well, but I need to attend to many issues at the same time. So thank you again for your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, one more time. We're really very happy that the UNCCD is leading this effort. And if I want to just use two words, I mean, it would be synergy and working out of silos, combining efforts, because having different, themes and different expertise, thinking in a holistic way, and that's really something that I like a lot, from what I've been seeing, and all our team actually is appreciating this effort to put different parties together, because at the end of the day, the center is going to be people. How do we improve people's condition, people's food security situation as we improve, and people's livelihood and things like that. And you'll see all that also in the next presentation from Sayahat Nurbek, who is the Minister of Science and Higher Education, Government of Kazakhstan. And he will talk about the Kazakh experience with land degradation and national plan for resilience in the face of climate change. So we have interesting case studies here and from all over the world, and this case also is fascinating, and I'm looking forward to all of us actually to also learn about their experience and how that also can help other countries around the world. So please welcome.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, dear participants, dear panelists, Dr. Mamadou, Dr. Turki. Thank you for your first engagements. Well, when you think of Kazakhstan and Central Asia, you wouldn't believe that we have water problem and we have desertification, deforestation problem. It's a large country with abundance of water resources at first glance, where you have lots of lakes, you have lots of rivers, but it is becoming a big problem for our region as well. And we're trying to find new solutions. We're trying to come up with our own solutions. And it'll be interesting to see our perspective on tackling desertification and water stress problems. So World Resource Institute, jointly with Economics Intelligence Unit, made this large research. I do urge you to look into that research called the World Stress Levels, and they compared different regions by water stress levels by 2030 and 2040. So in 10 years, 5 years time, 15 years time. And Kazakhstan and Central Asia, unfortunately, is one of these really stressed areas. In 15 years time, so we'll have more than 80% of a possibility to have acute water crisis leading to all kinds of problems. So the region by 2100, in about 70 plus years, will have higher temperature, raised temperature than other parts of the world, so 2 to 2.5 centigrade degrees. So that would put a lot of stress on ecosystems and natural resources, biodiversity, soil erosion, landslides, desertification, and floods. And we've seen all of these problems in the last 10 years. And now our government and our president are really focused and have this really solid commitment to fight and join the effort to fight these big challenges. The economic impacts are just dreadful. Just this year, we had massive floods in Kazakhstan, leading to considerable economic damage, leading to considerable impact on all levels, even human capital. So 6 regions of Kazakhstan were impacted by floods. And we had children, a lot of school children. This is the problem I had to face as Minister of Education. They were not able to prepare for their national testing. So we had to adjust our admission system for this year. So impact was really, really big on all levels, economic level, social level, education. Despite that, we had a record harvest of grain, about 23 million tons. And Dr. Turki, I totally agree with you. You know, when grain, 88% is politics. I mean, it's becoming a big issue given the conflict in the region. So we have a lot of impact historically, thanks to back in Soviet Union. There was this massive grain program, a wheat production program called Tselina, the Virgin Lands program, initiated by Nikita Khrushchev back in 1954. That's when the first decisions were made to plow about 54 million hectares of land, mostly in Kazakhstan and Western Siberia. To become the world leader in grain production. And it succeeded. I mean, the Soviet Union did become one of the world leaders in grain production, but cost and price of these unprepared, ill-prepared program was massive. It led to massive land erosion in Kazakhstan. We're still combating this. Aral Sea is another huge disaster. Imagine this large closed lake, which is, you know, due to its area is considered a sea, and massive unplanned or bad planned, ill-planned cotton production agriculture program led 2 rivers. And that region of Kazakhstan, Mavera un-Nahr, you know, it has an Arabic origin, between two rivers region, led to degradation of Aral Sea, which is now becoming one of the largest problems. And now Caspian Sea, the largest natural lake on Earth, is now facing same problem because of the one of the major seas, the Volga River, that huge river feeding one of the main feeders of Caspian Sea, is now used for agriculture purposes, and water capture program by Russian Federation. So they built series of dams and reservoirs, and now Caspian Sea is receding, which is leading, again, having huge impact on transportation. One Belt, One Road initiative, the city port of Aktau, city port of Baku, and many other ports are now, we have to rethink our infrastructure because water levels are just dropping considerably. So Kazakhstan, given the urgency and given the direct threats we have for the country and the region, as I mentioned, joins the collective joint effort on global level and both on regional level. We are really, really committed. Our president made a lot of initiatives. At COP29 in Baku, it was just declared the Carbon Farming Initiative. With 200 million hectares of arable land, Kazakhstan is one of the largest agriculture powers in the region, second largest grain exporter in the region after Russia. So we're now starting this huge scientific and research program, and I'm really thankful to the University of Arizona for having a partnership in North Kazakhstan at one of our universities, Khozabayev universities. And I'll give an example when we have this joint research collaboration to look into carbon farming, to look into a new genetics program, seed program, and forestry program. So we combine our resources with one of the leading universities in China, Northwestern Agriculture and Forestry University, which is a 90-year-old solid research university, Chinese university, who was essential, and that university was essential for this 2 trillion tree Chinese program. So now we are starting out 2 billion trees. I mean, China is just too massive. So 2 billion tree initiative. And trees, deforestation is another big problem, which is direct cause of desertification. We are now experimenting with a very specific endemic plant, a shrub called saxaul in saxaul in Russian, saxaul in Kazakh, xyloxylon, which is a very resilient type of bush or shrub. They grow normally 1-2 meters. They can grow up to 8 meters. Endemic to this particular region. They're so resilient. They need just it's very small amount of water. They can reproduce really quickly. When they die and dry off, they actually become a tumbleweed. So they travel across distances, bringing their seeds. So there's no need for a specific grow program or a massive production of these shrubs. And they're really interesting, could be a really interesting solution, and I know our colleagues on the panel will give some examples of these very specific types of plants and trees that can be used to battle the desertification and deforestation. Climate pledge, as I mentioned, President Tokayev reiterated several times our carbon zero net initiative by 2060. We are committed to global climate goals, carbon neutrality by 2060, and we are now bringing all kinds of academic and research partnerships to Kazakhstan to battle this problem on all levels. It's not only fighting deforestation and desertification. Water stress needs to be addressed at all levels. Water consumption culture is a big part of that. We're really lousy, especially in our culture, with water. I mean, every time I pass near the car washing services, they use potable water to wash cars. And it just, it's incredibly, unbelievably unacceptable. So there's this big initiative on education level to introduce courses on water consumption and water culture at all levels of education, primary schools, secondary schools, and university level. Agriculture, and Dr. Turki, thank you. I do need to find your book on social farming, on more efficient farming, bringing in communities to build this kind of a new culture of having more responsible farming techniques. And water efficiency, the biggest consumer of water is agriculture. So we will be tackling it from different angles. We're partnering with NURI, Nanyang Environment and Water Resources Institute, one of the leading research institutions of Singapore, and Singaporeans did an amazing job with water recycling, introducing membrane technology to purify, recycle water. I studied in the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, so there was this whole stories and culture about water recycling. There was an interesting historic event when recycled water was not drank. The Singaporeans didn't want to drink it, so how do we drink sewage water? It's purified. So Lee Kuan Yew himself went on public, on television, with bottle of recycled water, and he opened it and he said he drank it live on television, said, well, my fellow Singaporeans, we don't have any water, potable water, so we have to do it. I am your prime minister, I'm drinking it every day, I'm leading by example. So there are all kinds of aspects of water stress, of decreasing water stress level, starting with consumption culture, introducing new technology to create this recycled water models, and sustainable agriculture, as I mentioned. So carbon farming, we would be creating 15 pilot projects starting from next year. We'll be using 15 land spots all throughout Kazakhstan, different regions, different problems, semi-deserts, deserts, arable, good, fertile lands up north where we produce most of our grain, to come up with very different solutions. So it's not only focused on Kazakhstan's problem, but it's also focused with different parts of the world. And here today, I'm joined by my colleague from Ministry of Agriculture of Kazakhstan, Mr. Murat Temirbekov. He's the chairman of the land committee, we call it. So please keep close eye on this big pilot project where we will be introducing the carbon farming initiative. We are open to any partnerships. University of Arizona will be our key partner in this initiative. We already allocated 100 hectares of land up north in North Kazakhstan region for University of Arizona. And Kevin, I'm not sure if you know that, but Shane Burgess, the dean of the Agriculture College of University of Arizona, is directly involved with this initiative. So we want to build more partnerships with joint resources of Kazakhstan, America, Chinese, Russian, best universities in our region. We can come up with some solutions. And if we're open to any partnerships, if any university, any research institution, any fund, any private partner wants to join this initiative, we'll be happy to assist. We'll be happy to bring in the best research, the best academic and human capital available to us to find some really out-of-the-box solutions. RLC is still a big issue. There's an international fund for saving RLC this year presided by Kazakhstan. So we'll be also introducing some new research methodology to combat, to battle. How do we can't really save. I mean, look, it is crazy. Look at what happened. We had this huge lake/sea, and this is what's left of it. And in 50 years' time, nothing. And then there's a lot of salt. It's becoming, basically the seabed became this large desert filled with salt and all these chemicals. So now we're using these shrubs, bush trees, to recover at least part of that seabed structure. And it's amazing how huge and irresponsible the actions of human beings are. There's this old Native American saying, when lost fish is caught, and lost tree is cut down, and lost stream is poisoned, you will understand that you cannot eat money. It's an old Native American saying, and every time I look at this picture, it kind of, I always recall that quote. So in 30 years' time, this is what we did to one of the largest water reservoirs in our region in just 30 years' time. And now we're trying to really slowly recover at least the remaining water. We have 2 separate reservoirs now, and recover seabed using this xaxolons, shrubs, very resilient, very adjusted to local climate, consuming just a little bit of water and reproducing at high speed. So Global Land Restoration Initiative, it's becoming, we use all the best knowledge, we bring a lot of good experts looking into this case, and that could become a good research platform for any land restoration initiatives, because we had this huge catastrophe, huge problem in our part of the world. So in a nutshell, we're trying to bring all the best universities we can to Kazakhstan. So in the last 2 years, 34 solid research universities, including University of Arizona, Cardiff, Minnesota, Heriot-Watt, KAIST, Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. All these best universities, a bunch of Chinese best polytechnical and agriculture, forestry universities are now in Kazakhstan. So we are building this vast Coventry, Cardiff, KAIST, University of Arizona, and it's really, really a good example that we have 1,000+ students now, and now we start a joint research program with University of Arizona. So we're trying to bring all different aspects of technology, research, restoration, agriculture, economy research, social nudging, trying to affect the culture and models. That's the agreement we signed with NURI, Nanyang Environmental Water Research Institute of Singapore last year. And we created Kazakh National University of Water Management and Irrigation this year, partnering with all these great universities to tackle this problem, which is a complex problem. You don't have one solution. You need to have a whole array of solutions to really tackle this problem at all levels. It's not just technology, it is also culture, it is also behaviorism, it is also psychology. And let me finish with a quote from Dune, that famous novel by Frank Herbert, and now they made a great movie out of it. And it's all about water. Water is life. That's the main motto of the Arrakis, the planet, which is a desert planet. The flesh belongs to man, but the water belongs to tribe. So water becomes this really, really important resource that we really should focus on, and it belongs to all of us, not just to a single country, not just to a single region, and all these boundary river problem is now a regional problem. We have to deal with China, we have to deal with Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. Glaciers, it's another huge problem we're now tackling with to Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. It's a joint initiative. We've created a regional UNESCO Tier 2 glacier research center, quite unique initiative. So only jointly we can solve this problem, or at least ease the burden of this problem. And it will take a lot of partnerships. It'll take a lot of collaboration and cooperation to find ingenious solutions at all levels. I have to repeat myself for the third time. It is a very complex problem. It's not just one level, it's all levels. We're open to partnerships. Thank you, University of Arizona, for being in Kazakhstan. Thank you for launching these great initiatives. And we do believe, we wholeheartedly believe, when you tackle a problem from different angles, all kinds of new solutions will emerge. So thank you for having me. I'll be ready to engage, and we're open to any partnerships. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister Norbeck. This is really interesting and exciting at the same time because it's a call for collaboration. I mean, coming from the Kazakhstan, and government, and also from their researchers. So I think this is their experience in terms of sustainable agriculture and willingness to collaborate and meaningful research. In that sense, doing research that actually will improve living conditions of people. That is all really very exciting. So. We will save, we'll have questions at the end for all the, those who would like to ask questions, and we'll have a debate also. Now we're going to move to the next presentation, to the third one, from Dr. Faji Maina, who's a scientist. As I said also at the beginning, the importance of key agent of change, and I mentioned women, I mentioned also young people. She represents, both, and does interesting research that she's going to share with us today. And her talk is about greening the Sahel, pioneering effort to reclaim and restore the land. So please welcome.
Thank you so much, Professor Barrow. Hello, everyone, and hello, good morning to the panelists. I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Fejmaina. I'm an associate research scientist at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Washington, D.C., outside Washington, D.C. in the U.S. I'm from the Sahel, from Niger. So today I'm going to talk about the Sahel and how we use science to be able to do to understand what's happening in the Sahel. So let's go into the business. The Sahel, it spans from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea, and it's the red area that you can see here in this picture. It has a lot of countries, from Senegal all the way to Ethiopia, Sudan, Niger, where I'm from, and Mauritania, and many other countries. It's mainly a flat land, but it has a diverse ecosystem going from grass to savanna and other things. In the Sahel, the population has been growing a lot over the past years. And you can see here, by the end of the century, the population is expected to double and to be really high. And also at the same time, the Sahel is one of the regions where we have a lot of impact of climate change, and we are going to see here. So one of the impact of climate change in the Sahel is the Lake Chad. As we have seen in Kazakhstan, we have also a similar story in the Sahel, mainly in the area from Niger to Lake Chad, where Lake Chad has been shrinking. And here you can see a picture of the lake in 1972 and how it's looked like in 2018. So at the same time, the Sahel precipitation or rainfall, so precipitation is mainly in the form of rainfall, has been changing. Here we can see the trend of precipitation over the Sahel. We have the blue where we have countries like Niger, Mali, Nigeria, where we have seen an increase in precipitation, whereas countries in the Western Sahel have seen a decrease in precipitation. Though we have an increase in precipitation over the Sahel, we have like shift from droughts to floods. And Niger, for example, in 2004 was very dry years, and after that we had severe hunger and malnutrition in the country. In recent years, such as 2020 or 2024 this year, the country has experienced a lot of floods that are becoming devastating. Looking how about vegetation or like land degradation in the Sahel. The land has been degrading in the Sahel despite the impact of climate change. In red areas, we have like trends in vegetation as seen from space, and that's red. In all the red area, we have areas basically where the land has been changing in the Sahel, in particular in northern Nigeria and also in Niger. Evapotranspiration has been increasing, so though I said before that the precipitation has been increasing in the Sahel, ET at the same time has been decreasing, which means that the water storage in the Sahel has like mixed trends. In Niger or also in Nigeria or Senegal, some areas we can see like an increase in water storage, but in some areas we do have a decrease. Thinking about how the Sahel is going to look like in the future by the end of the century. Many areas of the Sahel are going to see a decrease in precipitation, whereas some areas, Niger, where I'm from, or Nigeria, are going to see the precipitation increasing. At the same time, vegetation is going to continue to decrease because the red area indicate where we have we're going to have a huge impact of vegetation, of climate change on the vegetation. Evapotranspiration is going to decrease and increase at some point. So bottom line, how water storage is going to look like in the future in the Sahel is kind of mixed trend. Niger, Burkina Faso, northern Nigeria are going to see an increase in water storage, whereas areas like Senegal, Guinea, Ivory Coast, or Ghana are going to see a huge decline in water storage, which comes at an expense. So looking at how some major aquifers of the Sahel are going to change in the future, the 7th, for example, is the Lake Chad Basin, or the 6th is a basin in Niger. We are going to see an increase in precipitation, which is going to translate into an increase in groundwater. In Senegal, for example, the 5, we are going to see a decline in precipitation and also a decline in water storage. We have those impact of climate change on water storage. At the same time, the land, as I said, has been degrading in the Sahel. In red areas, we have areas where the land has been degrading. And you can picture land degradation in the Sahel by looking at that picture that I'm showing. Land degradation has many causes in addition to climate change, unsustainable agriculture. We have also a rapid population growth that I mentioned before, in addition to additional pressures like conflict that are going on in the Sahel and many other reasons. So we need to think about restoring the Sahel, and restoring land in the Sahel. And when we think about restoring land in the Sahel, we need to have like a holistic approach of that. At the same time, we are going to focus on sustainable agriculture, as Dr. Tarki talked about, water management, climate change mitigation, and policy reform. And we need to have communities in the Sahel being involved in this process. There are several initiatives in the Sahel to restore the land. The one that I'm going to talk about is Greening the Sahel, the Great Green Wall Initiative, IFR 100, and many other communities approaches that we have. What's the Great Green Wall? So it's a bold vision to have like a greener Sahel and restore 100 million of hectares in the Sahel. And why greening is important in the region? First, greening does enhance groundwater research. So with more vegetation, we are going to increase our our water storage in a region that we do not have a lot of water. At the same time, it's going to improve the soil moisture when we have greening, and vegetation is going to grow more in that condition. As I said before, Sahelian countries have been experiencing floods over the past year, so greening is going to reduce those floods, control erosion, and also regulate climate in the country, and support biodiversity. Beyond thinking about hydrology, with the onset of climate change, we need to have greening approaches in the region, because it's going to, vegetation absorbs CO2 and it can help mitigate climate change. We can improve air quality with greening, have economic opportunities in the countries, because the Sahelian countries are one of the poorest countries in the world, enhance food security, as Dr. Turkey talked about it, and also reduce desertification, and also on the top of that, we can have a lot of social benefits. So greening is really needed in the Sahel, because we need to be climate change resilient, and we need to have those more vegetation. So because we have ongoing land degradation, land restoration effort in the Sahel, but it's still remain a challenge, because as I know, we have not restored our lands. And what we do, or what my job do, is also to be able to combine cutting-edge science, so satellite data and artificial intelligence, in addition to indigenous knowledge, to be able to combat land degradation in the country. What we do is we kind of mix all the data that are coming from NASA. Here we can see the Earth fleet of NASA, so it means the NASA satellites that are currently in space or future mission, and we integrate that in the water cycle to be able to simulate water cycle in this region, and also understand how greening, for example, is going to impact groundwater resources, is going to increase water security, and many other things. So the Earth has been greening. Greening in Earth is real. On the picture on the left, you can see that, and it's time to embrace greening in the Sahel. And for that, we need to use science, use a lot of data sets coming from satellite, because the Sahel is what is so-called the data scarce region. We do not have a lot of ground measurement and other things, but satellite data can help us overcome this, and also we can simulate water cycle in the Sahel, improve our greening effort in the region, and have better impacts. So with that, I would like to thank you, and please let's stay in touch.
Wonderful presentation. I think this is an interesting example in terms of, changing the course of things. As you know, the Sahel, for those of you who understand Arabic, the word Sahel comes from Sahel. It means a border. It's a border between North Africa and Africa, Southern Africa, and it has been for many centuries, all the way from the 4th, 5th century to the 8th, 9th, really a place where many empires, developed. It was interesting, and then it went down. So and now it's going through some major kind of crisis. We all know what's happening now with in the Sahel, in many countries in the Sahel. So it is important. It's not only for the Sahel, it's also for all of us, including, Saudi Arabia and other countries, and Europe, United States, that we need to look at. Interesting example, and what she just showed here is really important. So there is hope. There are issues, but there is hope. So that's a very interesting presentation. And then we're going to move to the next presentation. It's going to be our colleague here who's going to be talking about. Let me grab he's going to be talking about. Let's see here. Dr. Rodwing, he's a director and professor, Center for Desert Agriculture, which is very important, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. He will talk about the use of Saudi native plant genetics to address land degradation on the Arabian Peninsula. This morning earlier when I was talking to him, I learned a lot about rice, and that's a whole interesting topic, and Africa, and he's a great researcher and knows a lot about these issues, so we're very happy to share his experience with all of us here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Whoa. Hello. It's great to be here. It's a real honor to be on this panel. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me, and it's Welcome to Saudi Arabia. Here, let's see if I can make this thing work. This is the title of my talk, the KSA Native Genome Project and the Wadi Kadid Experiment Station, two complementary resources to facilitate the greening of the road to Mecca and Medina. That's my new title. Okay, a little bit about myself. I came to Saudi Arabia in February 2019, so I'm on a leave of absence from the University of Arizona. So I have two groups, one in Arizona. Let's see, does this thing work? Okay, not really. One in Arizona and one at Kaust near Jeddah. So we have kind of four main projects that we're working on. Today I'm going to talk about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Native Genome Project. So genomes build communities, and the goal here is to sequence all aquatic and terrestrial life forms native to the kingdom for environmental protection, monitoring, and the preservation of biodiversity. This is where Kaust is in Jeddah on the west coast, about halfway down. And when I first moved here, I thought this is what I was going to find. Nothing but desert. And but since I've been here, I've seen quite a lot of biodiversity. This is a juniper forest in Taif. Here we have some green space in Abha in the south. This is Hail up in the north of Riyadh. And this is Jazan. This is some of the terraces that Dr. Turki was talking about. So when I first joined Kaust, our president asked us, how can Kaust make a positive impact on the environment and well-being of all life in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? So I'm going to ask this question twice. The first one is related to the Native Genome Project. There's your phone. Okay. So in 2020, I was in contact with a group called NCVC. That's their nickname. The National Center for Vegetation Cover and Combating Desertification. This is an organization, a center out of MIWA, the Ministry of the Environment, Water, and Agriculture. And NCVC is responsible for restoring and managing 1/3 of Saudi Arabia. That's a huge amount of space. And they are also charged with the establishment and maintenance of approximately 500 national parks. Could you imagine that, being in a position to be able to develop national parks in this beautiful country? So as part of this workshop, we came up with a project called the KSA Native Genome Project, and that's to understand the biology and commercial potential of Saudi Arabia's native terrestrial ecosystems. So this is an example of the project. Again, sequence all aquatic and terrestrial life forms for conservation of biodiversity, environmental monitoring and protection, evolutionary analysis, and neo-domestication. On the bottom is an example of 5 of the species that we've been working with. On the left is the Ajwa date palm from Medina. Next to that is Hasawe rice from Al-Asa in the East Coast. The Gur falcon, falconry is very big in this country. The nodule fish, an important fish in the Red Sea and around Saudi. The next one is Ziziphus spina crista. This is a plant where the cedar honey comes from. And the plant on the far left is moringa, which is it's a native moringa to Saudi Arabia. So our pilot project involved these 15 species. Our goal was to, let me back up one second. The idea behind the Native Genome Project is to not only sequence the genomes, but to understand the microbiomes, the root architecture profile, the metabolic profile, as well as a soil atlas. These are the 15 species that was part of our project, and I'm just going to highlight one of them here. This is Salvadora persica, also known as Iraq or Mizwak. I call this the Saudi toothbrush. Hopefully you can get some of this before you go home. The plant has an extensive root system. Harvest the roots, and you peel off the outer layer, and you actually have a toothbrush. And it's a very neat thing to see here, and it's used throughout the Muslim culture. This is not only is it a toothbrush, it's a magical plant in that it anchors the desert floor with this extensive root system. You can water it with salt water, and it makes a berry, just like a blueberry. Highly nutritious, not very many. So our goal, one of our goals at KAUST is to what's called neo-domesticate this plant. So the idea is to essentially grow this plant in the desert, water it with salt water, and produce tons of Salvador or Mizwak berries that you could buy in the grocery store. And right now we're buying blueberries and strawberries from Ecuador, for example. Here, by producing them actually locally, this could be a fantastic product for the country as well as the anchoring of the desert. So with that, I'm going to just give you a brief little video of the Native Genome Project, and then we'll move on to my second question. Okay, so that's the project in a nutshell, and we're trying to expand this now. So there's a program called the Saudi Green Initiative, which the Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced the idea to plant 10 billion trees, and this is a long-term project to the end of the century. But working with NCVC and scientists at KAUST, they've selected 300 native species that could be selected as primary targets for greening of Saudi Arabia. So we're starting a project to essentially study these plants through the Native Genome Project. And the initiative is to develop high-quality reference genomes and for these particular ecosystems, to develop what's called a rewilding genetic biodiversity index. So the idea is you take one genome, like let's say let's say the Salvador persica, and then you have that as a reference database. Then you sequence those species across its range, learn about its genetic biodiversity, to look at see if there's any population bottlenecks, and then we can use that information to breed new varieties that are more resilient and to enhance the biodiversity. Other direct impacts of a project like this is to lead, to promote and adopt the Rewilding Biodiversity Index globally, create a nationwide academic program, environmental protection and monitoring, train and empower the next generation of environmental stewards of the KSA, educate and motivate local communities to protect and nurture their natural resources, create new job opportunities in industry and innovation and technology, as well as ecotourism. So I'm going to ask this question again. How can we make a positive impact on the environment and well-being of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? Develop a real-world experiment station devoted to the study and implement sustainable solutions in ecology, water, energy, and agriculture that will make a positive impact on the environment and well-being of all life in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So I come from again, the University of Arizona, and all my education has been graduate work, undergraduate has been in land-grant institutes in the United States, where these universities have experiment stations that are located on the ground where all the action is happening in the farms, for landscape restoration. So this is an example of an experiment station in Yuma, Arizona, in an extremely hot environment, much like here in Riyadh. This is called the Yuma Agricultural Center. It's actually a site to teach farmers and agronomists, how to grow crops in extreme environments. This is the Yuma Ag Center. You not only have fields for farming, but you also have labs for soil analysis and also education, and also outside for education as well, teaching people the best practices for greening, for agriculture. So just about 2 months ago, we opened up what can be considered as the first ag experiment station or experiment station near King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, called the Wadi Kadade Experiment Station. The establishment of a joint research and extension facility, which is a collaboration between KAUST and the National Center for Vegetation Cover and Combating Desertification, NCVC. So this is I don't have my pointer here, but this is the road from Mecca to Medina, and where that little dot is there is KAUST, and a little to the right is the Wadi Kadade Experiment Station, 20 minutes from KAUST. This is another little bit of a close-up. So the phase one was the site development, expanded R&D facility, and then maybe permanent operations. So we have a core team of scientists, and this essentially started in 2022, and we actually had our official launch in October 2024. This is the site now, taking a photograph a couple days ago. So the Wadi Kadade is a national park, 350 hectares. We have 10 hectares here, and this is and a couple of the projects that are on that have just started here. One is led by Professor Himanshu Misra, which is a native tree project. So we have 1,500 native trees, acacia, a couple of acacia, tamarisk, sisyphus, and prosopis. And trying different irrigation systems and different soil amendment systems. Another project is led by Professor Chi King Gan, and he's developed a system where he can actually extract water from the atmosphere, and solar-driven atmospheric water harvesting for off-grid sustainable agriculture. And so there's 2 pilot projects going on at the experiment station, and we're essentially welcoming scientists from around the world to access, to come here and talk to us and learn about, use this site to test your products, to test your technologies, and hopefully this can help aid in the greening of Saudi Arabia and combating desertification sustainably. In addition, we also have a native botanical garden that we're developing right now. So I'm just going to skip through these. These are the phase 1, 2, and 3, and the funding. So With that, I think I'm going to, well, what I would like to just say at the very end is that we hope that this experiment station will essentially lead to an ambitious project to help green the road from Mecca to Medina. This is a pilgrimage trail, and we're thinking that this could be a fantastic project to really promote greening around the world and let the world know that Saudi Arabia is serious about combating desertification. With that, I'll thank the Native Genome Project team, especially Nahid Mohammed, who is my first postdoc. She's down on in the middle on the bottom, and then our colleagues at NCVC, Dr. Khalid Abdulkader, who's the CEO of NCVC, and Ahmed Al-Ghamdi, who is the head of research at the NCVC, and our core project team. With that, that's it. Thank you very much.
Another interesting presentation here, and thank you very much, Dr. Wing. And I think what you're doing here in Saudi Arabia has a potential, to be scaled up in other places around the world. It's interesting, research, action-oriented, activities, where you have also a great deal of participation. So thanks again for this wonderful presentation. Now we're gonna move to the next presentation, and this is from Sani Shafi, as I said, who's a young rising star in the Sahel, in Niger, and doing interesting work in terms of irrigation, and more especially making innovations and making also those innovations in science and technology available to poor farmers in Africa. So please welcome and share your experience with the audience here right now. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't think if I'm going to introduce myself with this amazing introduction of Mr. Mamadou. I'm Sani Lolado Shafi. I'm from Niger, and I'm leading a company, a tech company that focuses on agriculture. I have a question. Does any one of you use the phone to control his farm? Okay, we're going to talk about the technology, the new technology, how to make it. So we are going to talk about the context of urgency of using smart irrigation. Right now, we know that the major water consumer in the world is agriculture. That consumes around 70% of water in the world. But apart from consuming the water, we know that the more they are consuming water, there is more impact on the social life and the population. So in terms of traditional irrigation practice, often lead to over-irrigation, resulting in significant water wastage and soil degradation. Over time, this duplicates aquifer and reduce land fertility. So we know that the growing of the population may reach around 9.7 billion by 2050. So we need sustainable food production. Now we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the traditional practice of agriculture and the modern practice of agriculture. You know that 60%, this is one of the pictures of the way they are making traditional agriculture in Sahel. So around 60% of water wasted due to evaporation and over-irrigation. In 100%, less than 30% you use in agriculture. All the waste are going to evaporation. And also, the more there's water, the more there is salinization. The third, high level of dependency. Okay, in Sahel, we can see that in rural areas, people are usually use the manpower to make the agriculture. There's no machinery. and also it requires pumping energy. So when we try to compare to smart irrigation, we can see that smart irrigation can prevent waterlogging and salinization by monitoring soil moisture and weather condition. So with the smart irrigation, you can use your phone to control the irrigation, to know the information about your farming system, the technology, and also you can use to control automatically all the agricultural activities. It integrates with solar energy. It can use to, how do you call it, to reduce carbon, how do you call it? Okay, yeah, to reduce footprint, sorry. Okay, the fourth value is too high initial cost. Unfortunately, using smart irrigation, it needs more cost than traditional irrigation. And also it promotes sustainable water use and protects soil quality, along with environmental conservation goal. So another question, do you know that you can communicate with your crops? And do you know that the crops can tell you what it needs? Yeah, now we are talking about the technology. In Ukraine, we developed a kind of technology that is going to give you information on your farming activities, farm crops. Like, let me see. Okay, it's not working. So we use sensor. From this sensor, we collect data on the soil, like soil moisture, the nutrient, the pH, the temperature of the soil. So we collect this data, we send it to our cloud platform. In this cloud platform, we use artificial intelligence to predict and to analyze data. From this artificial intelligence, the information is sent to your phone. Then from your phone, whether you choose to control automatically or you use to control manually. But it also gives you insight and notification on how the quantity, the right amount of nutrient, the right amount of quantity of water that your crops need to make it grow. So in terms of desertification also, I think it will be very, very difficult to tackle desertification without discussing with the major actor of agriculture. What is the major actor of agriculture? Right now, the major actor of agriculture are land, soil, crops. And we have the third party. Human beings are part of the third party and technology. We're going to show you how we can use technology to fight desertification, and that's the solution we are applying in the Sahel region. So first of all, we need to create a crops requirement. Like every type of crops, we need to know their requirement in terms of nutrients, soil moisture, temperature, and humidity, etc. So from this soil requirement we create, actually you have a more AR model for over 20 crops that we train already. So we use the sensor of the land. Like if it's desert area, we use the sensor of the land. We collect data from this sensor. So the third side, we try to compare the requirement and the soil content of the land. So if this, we can have either we need to additional or to reduce. This thing is done by artificial intelligence, and you send it to the phone, so that mobile app and web app. If you can see those pictures at the top, that's the technology we use to go from this one to the other side. So in case of in case of the temperature is minimum, we need to adapt with the irrigation system. If it's maximum, we try to adapt it also. In terms of nutrient, we used to adapt, we make the adaptation with fertilizers and all those things. So this is a short video, an example of using smart irrigation. I don't know if we can play from here. I don't think so. Yeah.
Dans son verger qui s'étend sur plusieurs hectares dans la banlieue de Niamey, Mbarek Sabiou, agriculteur, peut désormais se balader tranquillement. Lui, qui perdait au moins le tiers de sa production à cause de la sécheresse et de l'abondance de l'eau sur les cultures, recommence à avoir le sourire.
Alors avant, nous avions des problèmes de gestion d'eau ainsi que des retards d'arrosage. Et nous avions aussi un problème d'arrosage sur les grandes superficies.
Mais depuis 1 an, il utilise une application appelée Smart Eau. Elle permet une irrigation des plantations à des heures précises pour ne pas utiliser trop d'eau et obtenir des meilleurs rendements. Il gère tout depuis son téléphone, de quoi aussi être plus efficace.
Il y a aussi le fait qu'on arrive à pouvoir gérer à distance notre exploitation agricole et sur vraiment une plus grande superficie qu'avant.
Son application lui permet de suivre et d'analyser l'humidité du sol en temps réel et ainsi de contrôler de manière automatique l'ajustement des arrosages selon les besoins des cultures.
Thank you. This is just okay. Thank you. This is just a short video, an example of our technology. So, the company I'm leading, we are into 4 countries: Niger, Burkina, Cote d'Ivoire, and now we are starting in Nigeria. So we are taking 2 case studies. The first case study is Niger, where we started, and the prototype you have in Nigeria. The case study in Niger. So we install around 400 devices. And we can see that from 2022 to 2025, the revenue increase of the product of the farmers is around 20% of revenue that increase, and 2025 is almost 25%. So the water saving for those who use this technology from 2022 is around 30%, and 2025 is around 35%. And also, this is our result we had in Niger. We restored around 660 hectares of land, and also which can around 881 farmers. We save around 192,000 of kilowatts per year, and also around 50 million CO2 per year. So we're going to Nigeria, which we have right now a prototype. We just installed there. Okay, the case of Nigeria, the impact of inefficient water used in soil degradation. We can see that the inefficient water and the soil salinity lead to soil degradation. We can see from the graph. So right now, in 2025, the average yield is around 7.5 tons per hectare. So if there is no solution, solution, by 2025, it will decrease up to 6.8. So which means we need to take action now. So, and also we can see that the portion of the degradation soil is also decreasing. That lead to, it also increasing, that lead to the decreasement of the vegetation yield. So irrigation efficiency. We can see from 2024, the efficiency of the efficiency of irrigated area is around 40, and by 2029, if there is no solution, it will be around 70%. And also the rainflow is also around 55%, and also 2029, if there is no solution, it will be around 63 to 65%. But what you can see, still, the rainfall can increase due to climate changing, but also the irrigation area also will be needed. It is like it will increase also. So which means the rainflow dependence increased with the time due to increase of irrigation area by 2029. This is, okay. So as I said, we have a prototyping in Nigeria because we just started in Nigeria. So for this, they're going to increase in Nigeria, they're going to increase their crop yield by 30%, and also they can get cost reduction by using automatic solution, and the reduction may be up to 25% of saving water, and also they may have water efficiency around 50%. Okay. Oh, sorry. So actually, in terms of technology, you are facing a lot of challenges, and also you have some recommendation for stakeholders. As the challenges, you have high upfront costs for small-scale farmers. The technology costs a lot of bit for those who don't have enough resources. So we want to spread the technology everywhere, and also the cost can be a kind of barrier for the technology. In Africa, especially in Sahel region, we have internet connectivity problem. So our technology needs internet connectivity problem. So we are trying to improve the technology to make it more adaptable to the technology. And also we need, because a new technology, we need to train the maximum farmers how to use the technology. Most of them are illiterate. We need to make it more accessible to them. The recommendation, the first recommendation goes to government and NGO, because as I said, it's kind of cost for rural areas. The technology needs to be subsidized. And also, according to the region we are, we need to integrate weather location and create capacity building. Our vision for the future to scale global adaptation, like to emphasize using in water resource region through international collaboration with climate fund, prioritizing projects in region with the most pressing water and agriculture challenges, such as sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. We are integrating artificial intelligence we are entering all the concepts of technology into our solution, which means we need preventive analytics, which will be able to proactive management and helping farmers to respond to weather changes, pest, risk, and optimal irrigation schedule with precision. So the third vision for our future is empowering smallholders. Designs affordable and user-friendly solutions that cater to the need of capacity of small farmers. Partner with local cooperative and agri-tech company to reduce cost and enhance access. With this, I'm going to thank you for having me, and I'm ready for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. And I think, we see here a concrete case of challenges in a very poor country in the Sahel, but also opportunities in terms of innovation and then change. So now we're going to get to the other exciting part of this session here, which is participation from the audience. And so it has to be a two-way street here, addressing some question you might have, also maybe just some suggestions, and especially in terms of action. There has been a lot of talk in development, many things about, and I'm so glad, that, Dr. Faisal mentioned here, changes, the one key word that appears here is just thinking outside of the box in general, but also coming up with solutions to practical problems here. And then scaling up, to other places beyond just like Kazakhstan or Niger or, United States or other places. So it's very interesting, the debate here. Now, we're just going to open the floor for questions, and also maybe just also comments that people would like to, anyone who would like to say something, please come forward, or just, raise your hand and they'll let you ask the question. Go ahead. Can you introduce yourself first and ask your question or make your comment?
Sure. My name is Omar Wankoi. I'm here with the University of Arizona as an agribusiness consultant, also representing both Niger and Canada as well. My question is not to any specific person, because there was a lot of correlated comments from each of the participants. I remember instances where the minister from Kazakhstan showed an image of a basin that dried up with over a 40-year period. Same thing with Lake Chad. My question there, and I suppose I'm addressing it to the entire panel, is how are there any ideas as to how to, I guess, try to replenish those basins? Are there any options that are being looked at? Because I do know those basins, the fact that they're drying up is affecting the ecosystems in those specific regions. So I'm kind of curious to know if there are any tested or solutions that plan on being tested. That's the first part of my question. I'm going to ask the second one. That way I can give the microphone so other people can ask their questions. But I guess my second question would be, would it be better? It's certainly a great idea. And I think Dr. Turkey was actually talking about sort of converging efforts and having everyone working together to find solutions. Would that be effective, or is it also a good idea to have on a side regional action? In other words, each specific region dealing with issues at the same time that UNCCD and other global agencies are working, that we have regional bodies that can focus on regions, but that will also be linked to global sort of NGOs. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. We're going to start with actually, Dr.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your question. And you're absolutely right that drying of this great big lake, which we call RLC, has this huge impact on whole regional ecosystem. So it is, again, there's a big action plan, and it's regional effort. It's not just Kazakhstan. So because the problem was back in Soviet Union, back in Soviet times, there was a big cotton production in the area in Uzbekistan and South Kazakhstan, and rice production. So somebody had this really stupid idea to produce rice in this semi-desert area, right? Which is a huge, water-consuming culture. So now, the last year, there would be a lot of negotiations with several countries in the region. Uzbekistan agreed to cut down on its cotton production, and basically they will change their agriculture focus. They will stop or at least diminish production of cotton, because again, it's a very water consuming culture. Kazakhstan, we agreed to stop or cut down the rice production and instead switch to more water, less water consuming vegetables, and things like that. So hopefully, partially we will recover this lake, because then there will be less water consumption by several countries. And there's this big saying that the First World War would be over water. And we already had some conflicts in the region when Taliban actually built a dam and one of these river feeding. So there was some clashes between Taliban and Tajikistan and Uzbekistan already in the region. So the second part is to stop the desertification. This huge basin now, there's all kinds of salts and chemicals. And so we now use these shrubs, the local endemic bushes, to recover. So about 200,000 square meters already recovered. So we stopped desertification. And these bushes have this really good root system, sophisticated root system, kind of bringing more stability for the sand masses. And of course, there's a whole big joint research action plan. What can be done to stop desertification and recover some part of it. But the biggest impact would be agriculture. So it is a great, great progress that many countries in the region decided to stop producing this water-consuming cotton-like, rice-like cultures.
Thank you for your question. Land restoration can greatly benefit both society and the economy. I believe it improved the biodiversity, it enhanced water security, and it helped fight climate change worldwide. But if we talk about locally, it creates jobs. It improved the life of the people. It improved the community. This approach empower the individual, the society, and in return, it will improve the entire society. As I said, if we do not improve their life standards, especially the rural area or the poverty belt around the big city, that could cause a huge problem, and it will be easy, especially now with the new technology, with social media, they could be ignited, they could cause unrest, and before, things take a long time to erupt. Now, things could take seconds to erupt, and it's like a bush in the fire, just go on. I hope I answered your question. Thank you again for your question.
Just a small follow-up question to both of you, actually, whoever would like to actually respond. Because we're dealing with the, local and regional and global issues here that require some kind of partnership. But from your own experience, like, when you have a lake or a river shared by many nation states, you have the whole political dimension. And yet we have the technical solutions. How do you get governments, nation states, to agree on a joint effort to solve global issues but also local issues at the same time, from your own experience? Let's start with Kazakhstan and then Niger also. Yeah, go ahead.
And as I mentioned, I totally agree with Dr. Turki. It is, when it comes to water, it becomes a political issue. So now we're having, and I have to be honest, we're having a hard time negotiating with China, because majority of our big rivers come from China. And they, what's happened in China, they now has this huge, massive desertification program. Planting 2 billion trees and recovering almost 40 million hectares of land and bringing it to agriculture. So about 3 years ago, Chinese government launched this big program called the food, not security, food sovereignty program. So they say we have to grow all our food in China, which requires a lot of water. Yeah. So there's this huge problem in Mekong Delta in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. You might have seen it. It was kind of a big thing in our region, in Asia Pacific region. So Chinese started consuming so much more water upstream, this huge river, Mekong River, feeding Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos. The current is not enough. It's not so strong. So the salty ocean seawater started to raise upstream, flooding fish ponds and rice paddies. Yeah. Creating a huge problem. So the governments around China, including Kazakhstan, begging Chinese government, stop consuming so much water. You're creating huge problem for the region. So now there's this huge program, transnational, transboundary river program. Okay. And it's high-level government action committees, a lot of negotiation. I was part of those negotiations as well. We had to launch a water diplomacy programs at our universities to train people who have expertise in water resources and diplomacy and negotiation skills. Okay. Because it's extremely difficult for us to negotiate with Chinese government. We had to build this kind of master level programs and upskilling programs to train a lot of people to go negotiate. So it is, you see, tricky. On one side, everybody talks about this great thing, saving the future, water is life, all the. But then when it comes to economy, when it comes to real issues, a lot of governments are very reluctant to live up to those declarations, because then you hurt your economy, right?
Yeah.
And then I think technology, and our friend here, I was really amazed by what you're doing with your company. Technology is the only solution to really make agriculture and industries less water dependent, more efficient, and AI. I think it's the great new tool that can bring the real efficiency to a lot of operations. And if we are making this really cost efficient, really simple solutions and providing it to farmers, industry people, I think that's where the biggest impact, the biggest breakthrough would happen.
Thank you very much. And Faji,
Yeah, I wanted to add like the fact that we need transnational activities to be able to address water resources issues, because taking from the case of Kazakhstan and other countries in Asia, most of the water are coming from the Tibetan Plateau and the Himalayas, and this is in one country, and then the glacier has to melt in one country to hold water to be able to reach another country, and then all the way around those rivers, there are a lot of things that are happening. It's the same with India and Bangladesh, where groundwater depletion in India for agriculture is depleting the Brahmaputra and the Ganges-Brahmaputra river in Bangladesh and causing a lot of effect. Going back to your question about replenishing the Lake Chad, for example, this is something that can be feasible in terms of science and technology. We can feed the Lake Chad because topographically it's an area that water can stay there. And if we bring water to Lake Chad, I mean, we know that like the fact that Lake Chad has been shrinking has caused a lot of societal problems, Boko Haram and all those things in the region. But again, from where are we going to take the water to bring it back to Lake Chad? The Congo, for example, all the Central Africa region is a water-rich region, but it's other countries, and they're not even in the Sahel. Are they going to give their water to Lake Chad and the Sahelian countries? That's a question. I know the African Union is thinking about it. It's feasible, but it does imply a lot of politics. So.
thank you. Do you want to add something?
And glaciers is a big issue. It is the very unique source of potable, clean water. And Himalayas, we have these huge glaciers, but we already lost 1/3 of them in the last 20 years. So there's this big effort now to save glaciers. For example, we have to paint some of our rocks and mountains, very high mountains, with white paint, because when glaciers melt, there's black rock appears and it's heated by sun, and glaciers melt more. So there's all kinds of different attempts to save that precious water.
Great debate. Let's move to, if there is another question from the audience, because, Claudia, go ahead. Claudia, and then you.
Merci.
Thank you. Jeanne Ndembyoko Akapo is my name, from Benin. I'm the head director of cabinet of the Minister for Sustainable Development, so Minister of the Environment. Welcome, says. The speaker needs to take a headset away from a microphone, so the interpreters. I would like to thank all interpreters for the precise panels, the presentations we've heard from them. I would like to ask, or I have two comments actually to make, and also wish that the last speaker, Mr. Sani, I would like to be able to interact with you, to discuss matters with you and have your contact details. So, concerns now, about our concerns. The first concern is with regards to the use of plants that improve soil quality. In Benin, yes, we do. We have worked very hard on this. The Janus Kajan and our acacias, we continue to develop these in our farms. But these crops have limits, or these plants rather have limits. One of the panelists labored the point of the improvement of soil through plants, which is true. That's what we need to do. But the limits of that approach are that 3 years after you have started in the farm, you can have a yield of the farm from the first year when that has been planted on the ground. So 3 years later or 4 years later, it regresses. The same farm regresses. So you lose what you have achieved. So what do you do then? Admittedly, when we did this, we asked the planters to combine things with cow manure, etc., etc. So we tried to find solutions, but it doesn't entirely work. And our colleagues earlier on, our colleague from Niger said, yes, in the African region, our farming, especially south of the Sahara, is with really basic means. And as I was saying before, 3 or 4 years after we've used these plants in our farms, my yield then falls again. So what am I to do? So I'd like to ask you, what is done elsewhere? We would need to know for our own benefit. Next, we have spoken about reforestation, greening, in order to address matters pertaining to desertification. And that's what we have advocated and what all fora on desertification advocate. But let me ask you this. How about wood, timber, the timber resource in our countries? That resource is what you start with to heat things, to burn, to produce energy, okay? And when you create forests, or people mainly use that to cut the wood down and burn, and not anything else, not sustainable. So the relationship between the forestation, large-scale forestation, and demographics in Africa, combined with practices we have in place to produce energy, all of these relationships cause me to ask the following question. What good are these are age-old practices which we continue to engage in. Should we not change them through technology to reduce our reliance on timber to produce energy to address the problem of desertification? Because if the relationship is timber, energy, and demographics in such a way that things don't happen, I mean, there might be greening, admittedly, but with the greening, we will have the problem of the link between timber and energy. Now, all of these matters are linked in Africa, and we need to be able to find the needs to reduce reliance on timber for energy, because this produces, and we need to protect our land to find technology alternatives so that, once again, we reduce our reliance on timber. So to conclude, my question would just once again, Mr. Sani, I really need your contact details. Thank you.
So who would like to respond?
Je peux répondre à speak English or French. It's
Whichever language you prefer.
There is interpretation, say the interpreters.
okay. Okay, that's a good question about greening, because sometimes when we do plant vegetation, we expect the vegetation to have right away a positive impact on the environment. That's what I said. We need to have like a holistic approach of greening, because we cannot like look at greening as just vegetation. We do have to look at water and water cycle, and on top of that also energy system. So the system, everything is working together. If we just look at vegetation by itself, and we plant vegetation, down the line in 3 years, like we can have like right away a positive impact, but then the feedback of vegetation to the energy system, to the climate system, or to the water system is going to come back and then have like impact. That's why we need to have, before to have like any like greening project, we need to have like holistic models that are going to simulate what we are going to do and compute the impact and see where exactly should we plant these tree and vegetation, and how can we do that also. So that holistic approach, I think that's something that's currently missing. That's why sometimes we can see just impact for 4 years. And also in the holistic approach, we need to have the energetic component, because for sure, right now in Africa, we do plant trees, but at the same time, you are cutting these trees to like do as a source of energy, which is not good. So at the same time, we need to think, as you said, completely trying to think about other sources of energy, because cutting trees today as African is something that we should be doing, because we need the tree for energy, but there are many other sources of energy in the world. Also like trees, like the easiest one, but we cannot cut the tree and next time precipitation is going to come and flood is going to be in our home. Although the tree gives us energy, but at the same time cutting it might cause flood in my home. So we need to think all those things together, and models, mathematical model, what we do can help us have like a multi-benefit of greening and vegetation.
Thank you. I just want to add something, which is the bigger issue, which is interesting. I would like to see the panelists say something about it. It's about the sustainability of those innovation and technologies in the long run. I mean, one thing is to bring science to come up with something that works. Another thing is to make sure that it works for a very long time. So if you would like to elaborate, on that in terms of possible solutions, action, things, and how to do that, that would be very, very helpful. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I believe that while we're talking about technology, while we're talking about the problems, I think all these things can be solvable. We can manage it. But what we cannot manage is the will of the decision maker to really take it into consideration. When people talk about food security, water security, energy security, all these are politics. So you have to address the water issue not only through the lens of warm and globalization on the heat. You have to look at it. I just look it up, come out of my memory, but I found it. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci, he said, crises often unveil underlying pathological symptoms within society. So when we talk about water, it's politics. So while you deal with China, you're not only dealing with China as only water, it's also politics. As I said earlier, it's playing with chess. So what I'm always concentrated on, we can manage all the other variables, but we cannot manage the will of the decision maker to make action, to make priority. It's easy to spend $2, $3, $4, $5 billion in buying weapons, but it's very hard to get a few $1 million into assuring rural development, assuring food security. Because you have to know there is about less than a handful of companies who control 90% of the cereal market in the world. So that is power. My argument is in here, we can make a lot of success, and then we can document it. And then when we documented it, we could share that knowledge and the best practices. We can use technology here to create an online platforms where people could share their experience. And it's easy to do that. But we cannot do anything unless the decision maker make the will to make it as a priority. I know I have looked at it from a different angles, and you have to excuse me, or please excuse me, because I gave you another angle to look at it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Claudia, you had a question over there? Yes, go ahead, Claudia. Can you give her the mic?
First, I'd like to say thank you to our esteemed panel. I appreciate that we have so much diversity with regard to region, country, but it's clear that the issues are similar and apply to all of us. My name is Claudia Powell. I'm a social scientist from the University of Arizona, and I wrote my question down so I could be succinct. So with specific regard to land degradation and ownership, what role and responsibility do wealthier countries have in helping to address these issues in developing countries, particularly in terms of providing financial support, technology transfer, and policy frameworks that promote sustainable and equitable land governance? And this can be for anyone on the panel.
Who would like to take a shot at first?
Well, I think there's a huge responsibility on developed countries. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. And water is becoming so essential now. We never thought about water as this really unique, ubiquitous resource until 20, 30 years ago. And now it is essential to everything, right? To industry, to agriculture, to everyday life, everyday existence. Green hydrogen is another big thing, again connected to water. A lot of countries around the world are launching initiatives or national strategies. European Union launched one last year, South Korea, Japan, China, even Kazakhstan. I mean, we have this huge project now in west of Kazakhstan on shore of Caspian Sea, where a European company called Svevin, German-Swedish company, is launching 50 gigawatt equivalent of green hydrogen production. So apart, and then again, Dr. Turki, he added this political dimension, and it is obvious. I mean, like you take our negotiations with China, and we were talking to Kevin, U.S.-Mexico negotiations, where U.S. are the bad guys taking up the water. There's this really, Israel, Palestine, a lot of these stories where you don't have equal in terms of economic and political and military might powers talking to each other and trying to solve the problems. And unfortunately, in most of the cases, it's the stronger and bigger guy taking the resources and pushing his will on weaker and smaller state. So I think regarding to water, the big powers really need to have this more responsible approach to that and share technology. So we've been approaching a lot of countries, Kazakhstan, again, I have to speak from my experience, Singapore. I mean, it's a small country, but technologically real advanced. They did a really great job with membrane technology to filter. They have the best technology to filter water. And they've created this interesting, almost perfect water cycle. So all the water, it's interesting with Singapore, it's an island in the middle of the ocean, but no potable, no sweet water, no potable water at all. So we have to gather all rain water coming. They have this, if you go to Singapore, you would find these channels, you know, there's concrete bowls collecting or harvesting all this water, purifying it, and there's this, they created almost perfect cycle of using available water resources to them to create a sustainable water cycle. So it could be used, and now we partner with New Reed at Nanyang University. We're designing this technology to bring it to Kazakhstan, bring it to the region. And Singapore was very, very helpful. You know, our president met the former prime minister, the current prime minister. That we are happy to share that technology. We're happy if we would use it. We would bring our researchers. We create joint research partnerships to help you not only transfer that technology, but also start producing those membranes locally so that you can have more water recycling plants and facilities. But again, these are all local problems. And our friend here was raising the timber in Africa. You know, there's this old Russian proverb, don't teach me how to live, help me financially, right? I mean, we could give it a go, okay, you know, we have to be, you know, culture has to change, but what can you tell to this really poor country, and that particular person who is not aware of all these global problems, he's trying to survive, he's everyday living for him. So cutting that bush, making food, feeding his children, that's on his agenda daily. It's not about saving the world and COPs and global agendas. So that's where education, I believe education is a never strong, powerful instrument. So everything starts in schools, you know, that eco-friendly mentality, at least understanding how your actions and inactions every day can affect, you know, regionally or globally, or even your living ecosystem. The only way, but there's no silver bullet, unfortunately. There's no any magic trick to solve that problem. It all starts with thousands and billions of people every day doing right things and understanding how our actions and inactions affect the planet we live in. So I think that's no solutions, no magic solutions, unfortunately.
Thank you very much, Minister Norbeck, for these insights. I want to just, because the question I asked to, you know, the big powers, the United States is one of those big powers, so not that you're representing Kevin, United States here, but you've been working with the US government for many years, also been involved with these things in many other countries around the world. Would you like to say something in response to the question?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let me make a quick plug. The membrane technology in Singapore, I'll try to be politically correct. The professor who's in charge of that program was recruited from University of Arizona. Our dean would say stolen, but anyway, he's been doing a wonderful job at Nanyang University, and even came to Myanmar to help me spread some of that technology, exactly what you're describing. So it is, I mean, yes, they stole them away, but the more important point is how these technologies are so quickly spreading around the world. And whether it's drip irrigation with Internet of Things and AI, we've got to get these technologies out there. Education is critical. And the more we can share technologies, the more we can share the education, the training, I think we're going to be better off. And with Arizona being able to help with KAUST, with Kazabayov in Kazakhstan, with Singapore, it's encouraging to me that we see this spread of technology, sharing of ideas. I'm really impressed with the efforts that being made in Kazakhstan with internationalization, the number of students who are coming from other countries there, with KAUST and other universities in the kingdom that are bringing in students from other places to share technology, share training. So I'm a bit of an optimist that we're going to get through some of these terrible times that we've got right now, technology-wise, environmental science. After almost 50 years at the University of Arizona and working with many higher education institutes around the world, the young people are implementing so many of these ideas that I have faith that we're going to get through some really rough times we've got here with climate change and everything else. My long-term concern is how are we going back to a question before of, are we really going to be able to restore some of these gigantic environmental issues? Lake Chad, getting these restored is going to take a really long time. I mean, maybe we can arrest the damage in the next few years, but getting to restore, that is going to take more time, more money, more technology. So I'll leave it at that and share.
Thank you. I think Faji, you wanted to say something?
So it's about, again, I'm going to talk as a scientist, not as politic. I know that managing or like wealth countries trying to help like rich countries, trying to help like poor countries, it's all about politics, they don't care. But one thing that we should have in mind is the Earth, our Earth, we need to see the Earth as just one entity in the universe. Sahara, for example, like helping Niger or like all the Sahelian countries, dust in Sahara is trying to alleviate or decrease intensity of hurricane in the United States. So for the United States to help Sahara is also helping like themselves, because dust in Sahara is trying to, it can help alleviate the impact of hurricanes in the United States. The same for Europe, for example. Dust in the Sahara is required basically to be able to go to fly to Europe and melt glacier in the Alps. Similarly, in the Tibetan plateau, the Himalayas, dust in the region, Middle East, is helping them to have water. So basically, our Earth is interconnected. Whether we are in rich country or poor country, we just live on Earth. That's it. And our physics is working all together. So at some point, we need to work all together. Also, it's all about politics. But politics are humans, and Earth is just like an entity.
Thank you very much. I think we're running out of time, so someone, the last question. Go ahead, please.
No.
Thank you. Bonjour.
Good morning. I'm Diallo Malou, and I'm the coordinator of the Degraded Land Restoration Project in Mali, the PRTD. First of all, I would like to congratulate and to thank the organizers and the panelists for this dialogue, which has shared very useful experience. Now, my question is specifically addressed to Asani from Niger. We have a similar, there's a similar project in Niger for restoration of degraded land. So I'd like to know if you are working on this. And secondly, do you have a technical and economic reference in terms of minimum surface for implementing this kind of technology? Because we are reflecting on how possibly to make use of this expertise for some of what we are doing under the project. For example, agroforestry, pastoral integrated approaches to go out to restore up to 10,000 hectares of degraded land. So we could look at to what extent we could use the expertise that you have in possibly implementing our land restoration projects. Thank you.
The question is for you specifically. Go ahead.
OK. Alors, merci pour votre question.
Thank you for this question. First of all, we are in contact with the project in Niger. We've already begun the discussions on this project, so we could also then be in contact with the organization in Mali. Now, we have already begun the process. With regard to the question about the surface, the extent of the surface, we don't have a specific quantity, but depending on the characteristics, the soil characteristics, there's different possible solutions. So we have the solutions are not in terms of the actual surface, but rather the type of crops that you're going to be growing. So the first solution would be composed of 8 sensors to be installed on 1 hectare or 5 hectares, depending on the kind of subdivision of the lands and the type of crops you're growing, because we are aware that the there's different characteristics depending on whether you've got tomatoes or carrots growing, for example. Thank you.
Very much. Clearly, I think you coming here in Saudi Arabia, it was actually helpful with a lot of demand in terms of the innovation that you started in Niger. So thank you for that, and we're able to put you in touch with other countries here. So that's wonderful. So I think we're running out of time here. I'm going to have, two things. Just to wrap up, you're going to tell us something about what you learned from all this. And after you, I will try to put the pieces together and remind everybody that this is just a starting point. It's just the start of a dialogue between different parties. So hopefully, it won't stop here in Riyadh. It will continue, and we're just happy that Saudi Arabia was actually very involved in setting up all this and getting us to think and also to partner between different institutions. So please go ahead and make your remarks.
Okay, let me try to be as diplomatic as Minister Siyasat. I don't think I'll succeed, but I'll try. The fact that Saudi Arabia have hosted COP20 and they highlighted a major issue that affects everybody's around the globe. It's not only affected Saudi Arabia and the Arab world, it's affected everybody. Something that is vital to the basic human need. The founder of Saudi Arabia, when they had the meeting with President Roosevelt, if you look at the internet and you search all the literatures about it, you will find something very popular that they talk about oil for security. America provides security, Saudi Arabia provides oil. This statement is not true at all. It's false. Reality is they talk about water security and food security. With the cooperation of the Saudi government, the American government, and then the American government doesn't know how to do it. So what they did, they went to the University of Arizona and they went to the University of Texas. Now, government can move? Of course not. So they went to a private sector, which is they went to Aramco. Aramco, with the American government, with the Saudi government, with the University of Arizona, with the University of Texas, with the University of California, they gathered together and they made a state-of-the-art project just 70 kilometers away from Riyadh, is in Al-Kharj. And that models became a good for the good cooperation. Then we could document it, which we have documented that project, then we could share it with everybody. Unfortunately, I've been promoting the power of agriculture for many years. Nobody listened until 2007, when the food security and the food issues. And now it's become very popular, the word weaponizing food, weaponizing water, weaponizing access to energy, as we see in Gaza, as we see everywhere in the world. Superpower are a monster. They look at their interest. If you think you're gonna talk to their nice heart and they're gonna serve you, they're not. God's only help those people who help themselves. So we have to help ourselves. And we have to focus on the issue. Just talking about this issue at COP20, I mean COP16, I think it's a wonderful idea. We're already halfway solving the problem. Now the other half, which is the hardest one, is implemented it. But at least we are, at the moment, while we're sitting here, you could watch, thanks to the United Nations TV, you could watch it anywhere in the world. That is sharing knowledge, concentrated on the basic human need, provided the necessities for the human need. And that's what we need to talk about. The subject we talked about the least That's the subject we should talk about it the most, which is providing, helping the basic need for mankind. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, as you pointed out very well, we live in an interconnected world. We have one globe. What happens locally in one place in this globe could affect anyone living in that globe. So I think this panel was interesting in a sense that it put different people from different expertise and then try to actually figure out ways in a collective way to solve global issues here. So it's very important that the knowledge that scientists like us, who are not politicians, generate need to be shared. It also needs to be co-created. You know, scientists from Kazakhstan, from United States, from Saudi Arabia, from Niger, from anywhere else in the world, from Mauritania, where I'm from also, need to actually work together, okay, and come up with solutions. But we need also to find meaningful solutions. And as it was pointed also here, one thing is to be able to create some kind of meaningful science and solution. Another thing is to be able to make it work. That's where also I think the call for action, and I think Saudi Arabia played an important role in that and is playing that role, is to move from some kind of recommendation, technical recommendation, to a level of policy, because a technician can only go to a certain point. Now, what to do with that, as he said very well, requires some will. It requires some kind of good intention from the policy, some kind of vision. And it is our role also as a scientist to inform our policymakers, to transform, the complicated, recommendation you might come with sometime into simple policy recommendations so that a politician can take and move to the next level. I think this is a major step in that direction, and thank you all for participating. And we're looking forward to further discussion in the future. And thank you, Saudi Arabia, for actually hosting this event here in Riyadh. And thank you all people who've been involved. Thank you, UNCCD, for playing a major role in putting all of us together, all of us, where we ignore boundaries and talk about science, technology, and the future of the world. Thank you all.